Hey there, good morning. I'm just a little bit early, as usual, and I wanted to dig in just a little bit deeper on some different tools and the importance of, first and foremost, the importance of, I'm looking for a water bottle. They're all upstairs, I'm cleaning. So, hydration. The body is made up mostly of water, right? It's summer, it's hot, we're training. Even if you're not out there just dripping with sweat, the condensation around you is happening and you are losing water. So you have to stay hydrated. If you happen to live in a really dry climate like this, you might be even more trouble of dehydration because it's less obvious how much water you're losing every single day. So drink your water, consider it two things. These are the two things that motivate me the most. Water is blood volume. Blood volume. So if I become dehydrated, my blood becomes less viscous and less capable of carrying oxygen to working muscles. So my number one priority when I'm training and I want to live well and I want to have amazing energy and I want to be really positive and hormonally balanced is blood volume and transport of oxygenated blood, oxygen. And the blood carries that. So the smoothness and the blood volume, we want to keep that up. So that's my number one. My number two is really going to be the quality of my skin. Skin is the biggest organ in the body. It is an indicator of what's happening inside the body. So tissue and skin, like if you're flaky skin and you're ashy, that means you're probably internally dehydrated as well. So watch your skin, it will tell you things. Listen to what's going on there, okay? Hydration, number one. Number two is really going to be that deeper level of understanding of tissue care. So I've got for you today, I want you to understand the gua sha. This is my favorite gua sha tool. So gua sha is about moving tissue to facilitate greater hydration and gliding within the tissue. So whether it's ligaments, tendons, muscle fiber, skin, fascia, whatever it is, we want smoothness and we want gliding in the body. So gua sha tool, this was kind of a pricey one. I got this in San Francisco at kind of a woo-woo shop, but I like it because it's got this kind of serrated edge that can facilitate a different kind of feel on the skin. And then it's got a kind of a smooth edge, and then it's got kind of a rounded edge if I'm trying to get through my forearms. I play a little bit of golf sometimes. So that's my gua sha. That's G-U-A-S-H-A. The beautiful thing about that method of moving skin and fascia is you can even use, like, let's not find any excuses, you can use a wooden spoon. So if I just wanted to facilitate a little bit of heat through my forearm, I could do that even through my bicep, my elbows, through my triceps, through my lats. I could do it all with a wooden spoon. If I wanted it to be a little bit more, I don't know, it always feels nice for me, I use Tiger Balm. So I like to use a little bit of Tiger Balm around the joint and then get the gua sha tool and then just kind of move it around using the gua sha tool. And anytime you can get greater gliding around joints, you're going to have better movement in your elbow. I mean, my elbow already feels better. It didn't really feel bad to start with. So let's take that into the percussion tool. We'll also talk about that. I like to use the percussion tool mostly around the belly of the muscle. So if you happen to have done a big Ironman this weekend or a race or just some really hard training and you really want to help recovery, if you have trained hard or if you have done an Ironman, you want to just feather the percussion tool through the belly of the muscle and feather super light, right? Nothing crazy. You cannot speed up your ability to recover by hammering tissue. Like, there's not a jackhammer, right? So through the big belly of the muscle, we're just feathering through there. There's damage in there, so we want it to be able to heal, and so we're just trying to bring hydration into the tissue. Okay, so that's the way we use the percussion tool. And you can use that. I sometimes will leave that right by my chair in the living room. So let's spend a little bit of time here. So if you have a gua sha, if you don't have a gua sha, you can use a wooden spoon. But if you don't have a wooden spoon, you can use your hands to function exactly the same. So I'm going to take a little bit of Tiger Balm, and I'm just going to put it all around the lower part of the leg, everything below the calf, right? And your body will talk to you. It'll talk to you by not moving. It'll talk to you with pain. It'll talk to you during movement, during training. So we're just going to use the hands. If you don't have the tool, I'm just going to defer to the fact that maybe some of you don't have a tool. And then I'm going to take my gua sha tool and I'm going to just work it. And I can dictate how much tension or how much force I put into the tissue. And if I feel healthy, then I can put a little bit more force in there. I'm not trying to bruise myself. I think that's a mistake. So you don't want to damage stuff. But if I want to have good tissue, healthy, hydrated tissue, I want to create a little bit of heat below the calf. I can work along the shin bone, through the anterior part of the lower leg, through that anterior tib, all through there, and right down into that retinaculum, that very front part of the calf. Remember the three key areas of mobility: the ankles, the hips, and the thoracic spine. That never changes. The ankles have to move well. So not only do we have to have them move into dorsiflexion, where the calf muscle stretches and the Achilles lengthens, we also have to be able to get really flat and relaxed through the front of the ankle. So don't underestimate the importance of this ankle complex working in a really, really good way. Okay, let's change sides. We're going to get a little bit of Tiger Balm. You can use icy hot or whatever. I just like the feel of the Tiger Balm. It's a little bit lotiony. It's a little bit, it gives me a little bit less, creates less friction between the skin, and it really leaves the tissue feeling a little spicy when we're done. So we use the hands. Remember, this is Mobility Monday, so this is all the different ways besides just movement. We will do movement, don't worry. We're just working like making pasta or making bread, just working through the lower leg and creating heat. When your feet work better, like ultimately, guys, I'm a basketball player, right? Ultimately, I need to be able and want to be able to move like an athlete, not just a runner. I mean, I'm from Boulder, so I'm around a lot of runners, and a lot of them move very Tin Man-like, and they're fearful of lateral movement or multiplanar movement. I got a wonderful email this weekend from one of my athletes who's been with me a long time, and he's over 60 and went tubing behind a speedboat this weekend. And as a coach, I gotta say, I was just as proud of him, having the courage and the excitement and the enthusiasm to, without question, I don't know, maybe I had a couple questions, to jump on a tube being tied to a speedboat than I have for my athletes that did really well in Roth. Congratulations to Rudy Von Berg, podium. Second was right there for him. Just body locked up a little bit at the end. Ironman is a very difficult sport, but a lot of learning went on in Roth in Germany. So we'll be ready for the next race. All right, lower leg moving well. Let's check that. Okay, so everybody onto one knee. Move that stuff off to the side. You can take a foam roller. Let's check. How much should my ankle move? If you were next to the wall, let's go 2 or 3 inches from the wall with the toe. And all we want to do is be able to get the knee over the toe. Just drive through it. And I can check it with the wall. And then once I'm checking it, I'm just going to move through it. Knee over toe. And that tissue, we've already warmed it up. We're just going to go ahead and just get that knee over toe. Same thing other side. knee over toe. I can feel a little bit of tension there, but to be honest, on my right calf yesterday while I was riding my bike, and it wasn't a hard bike ride, but my right calf was talking to me a little bit. Just felt like a little niggle, like there was a little band of tissue in my calf on my right side. And so when I finished my ride, I made sure I got really good hydration, post-ride hydration. And then I took my gua sha and I worked through this specific spot. And then I took the percussion tool and just worked through the belly of the muscle. And I feel it a little bit today, but nothing crazy. I'll run later today and it might talk to me a little bit, but that's my strategy. A, notice it. B, get after it a little bit with the gua sha. And then C, a little bit global, more global with the percussion tool. Okay, let's go into lateral half kneeling and then down with both hands on the ground directly under the shoulders. And we're gently gonna rock back and forth. Keep that head in a nice strong position. Foot is on the ground, toes are facing forward. We're getting a little bit of adductor tension. And I'm not even gonna call it stretching because I've been doing this a lot. I've been really mobilizing as my fitness is ramping up. Remember, we're all following each other on Strava. So it's not lost on me that you guys know when I do and do not train. From time to time, I forget to plug in my Garmin, so I might miss a day. But for the most part, follow me on the Strava. Hold me accountable. If I see that you're following me, I usually follow you, and then I can help hold you accountable. Okay, right leg out, directly under. Now, as soon as I went into that position, the right side, now I've got a little story going. The right calf was talking to me yesterday. As soon as I went into that position, I got extra tugging on the right adductor. So that's telling me further up the chain is my guess. It's going to be up into the right hip. So we're going to just keep going, but we're listening to the body. It is talking to us. Very rarely does niggles turn into imbalances and then potential injury. It usually doesn't just sneak up on us. It usually is talking and whispering, and we have to be paying attention. Good, nice and easy. Good. And good. All right, let's go one more time each side, and you can maybe notice the difference. When I go to the left leg, lateral half kneeling, I don't notice it as much. So left side has got a little bit more space. All right, so left leg's out, left arm, reach under, and then all the way up. As we reach under, push the hips back. 2, 3, 4, and 5, and good. And then right to the other side. Right leg out. Just build a little bit of trust with that tissue because I'm about to rotate into it. Just a little bit of rocking. We're going to take that right arm under. Sink into it and reach up. 1, 2, we're just doing 5, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, good. So we've got a little bit of mobility through the hips just from that lateral half kneeling. And let's go into happy hips number 1. So we're just going to get those feet outside of the hips and just nice and easy. When you come down the midline here, you want to be 90 degrees in both knees. And we don't want that knee short. We don't want it to cross the midline. So push that leg back. And then just try to get this hip forward. And that might facilitate glute activation. So as soon as you push that right hip forward, you might get the glute that might want to stop the hip. And it's more of this isometric, concurrent firing more than anything, okay? Other side. Take this left hip, move it across, move it across, move it across, and good. So from a front view here, you want this knee back, like if you were running, or if you were cycling, it doesn't really go too far back. But if you were running and you want hip extension, you got to keep this hip open. And we're just going to take that hip, move it across. We're going into internal rotation on the left. We're also going into internal rotation on the right. Right? So we're just pushing in, and you get a little bit of that foam roller effect on the bottom hip. Good. And good. All right, same thing other side. Right here, we've got hip extension. You've got a little bit of tension on the front of the hip. There's external rotation. There's internal rotation. Take that hip into the midline. 2, just gentle. 3, 4, 6, 7. Interesting. 8. From this perspective, not really getting tightness on the right in the hip from that angle anyway. Okay, so let's go into the long lever happy hips. We're going to take both hands over the head, and that's going to lengthen the lats, and that's going to bring the rib cage into the story. All right, so we drop the right side, pull the right hip back, and then the right rib cage is coming all the way across. There it is. It's the psoas. So when you feel it here in the belly, we can kind of rule out that rectus femoris, and we're just talking more about that psoas that attaches up behind the ribs. 2, and remember, tightness in the hip flexors or in the front line of the body is going to inhibit the function of the back line of the body. So all of the strength routines that I develop for my athletes is going to follow that same storyline. Take that across. Yep. 1. Take the left rib cage towards the midline. Try to get that left hip across. You can just feel all the tension through all the obliques. So we're not just blaming one muscle. We're not just blaming the psoas. We know he's part of the tightness, but so are the obliques. So is that rectus abdominis, all of it. And one more time, all the way across. And good. Okay, from right there, let's go ahead and grab the foam roller. We're going to take that foam roller and we're going to do a proactive release of the pelvis. So we're going to get the pubic bone and the hip bones. So we're going to work through a little osteofascial release. You could use your gua sha on these areas as well, but I think it's just as easy to use the foam roller. So you want to get the pubic symphysis, the middle of the pubic bone, onto the foam roller, and then just glide it across. And that is spicy. So that feels a little bit more like spending the time on the bicycle is starting to shorten the front line for me. And we need to make sure that this connection, the muscles that attach to the pelvis on the front side around the pubic symphysis is starting to get a little bit tighter. If you've done the Mobility Monday with me, every time I've done that up until now, and I've really upped my biking, that has not been a problem. But today, I'm glad I checked that out. All right, through the hip bones, we're just taking the hip bone and dragging it across the foam roller. I'm posterior to the hip bone, so I'm actually around that TFL, that muscle that just comes posterior to the hip bones. And I'm just working through that a little bit. And then same thing on the other side. Hip bone. Okay, so we're a little bit down, dragging the skin across. Using this other hand to unweight the body so you don't have your full body weight on that because it might be a little bit too intense. And then open the hips up a little bit so you can get on that lateral aspect of the glute and also get through that TFL, that muscle. Right, the TFL turns into the IT band and it also merges with the big glute max. So he is really if TFL gets tight, you're going to have tightness further down the chain. So TFL, tensor fascia lata, it's like right on your pocket. It's right here. And that guy has to glide and slide, which is kind of where we started this conversation, right? Okay, from there, let's go ahead and into this full kneeling position. Take 2 hands up. And we just want to stack the ears over the shoulders over the hips in that position. Just nice and tall. Pull the chin back into the throat. You can lock your thumbs if you want. We don't want the arms here. We want them right lateral to the ears. Okay, so you can check. Is my head in a great position? Is my rib cage in a great position? Are my arms able to get directly over my head? And that'll show you the length in the lats. I've seen a lot of triathletes lately who look like this. They go here, and as soon as I ask them to go here, they end up with this spinal extension. So you want to set the flat hips, neutral pelvis, right? If your hips are pointy and you have a big arch in your back, just drop your sacrum, lift your pubic bone, flat hips. Arms straight up, perfect stack. Hamstrings might be a little bit more on. That's okay. And then take that back down. So here, that's not good. Here, that's not good, right? We want to have neutral pelvis. Drop your sacrum, lift your pubic bone, flat hips. That's how you tell if you're in a neutral pelvis. If you can't get into that position, we're going to lay you on your back and put you in that position. So let's do a couple of bridges to finish that up. No matter whether you could get in that position in full kneeling or not, this will always be a home base for you, okay? So right here, you just drop the sacrum, lift the pubic bone, flat hips. Usually that's a flat back. Flat hips, flat back, there's no space under there. Lift the hips, flat hips, knees in. You usually will get a very nice glute activation there. There I am in my natural anterior tilt. Lift the pubic bone, flat hips, lift into that bridge. And let's just breathe into that. Fill the lungs. My hamstrings are starting to light up. That will tell me that my glute is under functioning. I actually ended up getting a hamstring cramp right there. You want to stop that or get out, change the position a little bit. Come back, drop the sacrum, lift the pubic bone, flat hips. Take a big breath, fill the lungs, lift those hips up again. Just what you want to do is keep repeating this until the glutes are starting to do what they're supposed to do, which is hold the hips into extension. And from right there, now the hamstrings and the glutes are starting to get along a little bit better. It's actually good when that happens for me, because it actually helps me recognize the position of the body. I hope you've enjoyed this session. We're about 20 days out from the Olympic Games. Hopefully you're starting to get really excited. Thank you again for coming. See you next Monday. Just take care of yourself. Stay hydrated. Keep the tissue moving. Blood volume. Okay, peace out.